Something just snapped in Ohio, and it's happening inside a company most people still call untouchable, American Express. And right now, up to 2,300 jobs are sitting in a silent holding pattern while the bird restructuring gets used like a smoke bomb. No public countdown, no clear timeline, just a freeze. And when a financial giant freezes, the ground under everybody else starts to crack because this is not just about employees. This is about the payroll that feeds an entire local ecosystem. This is about contractors, staffing, farm, vendors, and small businesses that only look stable until a single corporate hub comes. And that cup is turning into a chop. Pause here. If American Express can put thousands of roles into a limbo overnight, what does that say about the state of any corporate job that lives in customer service, operations, or back office work? Let that sink in. This is the part that should make you uneasy. Here's what we know. A certain operational restructuring at American Express Ohio Hub has triggered what people inside describe as an internet freeze on roles and vendor contracts. That phrase sounds clean, but the effect is violent. A roles freeze is not a memo. It is a pressure event. It means hiring stops. It means backfills don't happen. It means projects freeze. It means contractors get told not today. And it usually means one other thing. The thing companies avoid saying out loud until the last possible second. Cuts. Now think about the number being whispered in the background. 2,300 jobs. That's not a rounding error. That is an entire city block of livelihood. That is rent, curb payments, grocery cards, daycare, student loans. That is a region's breathing rhythm. And here is where it gets worse. Even if layoffs aren't officially confirmed yet, the damage starts anyway. Because uncertainty doesn't wait for a press release, and certainty changes behavior immediately. People stop spending, businesses start expanding, lenders start tightening, and the local economy starts doing something that looks small at first but turns into a spiral. It's called a demand shock, and it hits before anyone gets a termination email. Let's walk through the chain reaction because this detail matters. When a hub like Dick's phrases, staffing firms that traded get hit first, not later. First, those firms don't get a dramatic announcement. They get silence. They get contracts under review. They get a request to pause requisitions. They get the slow freight. And staffing firms don't run on hope. They run on placement fees and hourly spreads. So what do when the pipeline freezes? They pull back. They reduce recruited hours. They halt internal hiring. They stop taking risks on new clients. And they tighten their on term because they can feel the air changing. Now consider the next layer. Call center, contractors, third party operations vendors, facilities, security, IT services. All this supports scaffolding that sits under a big employer like American Express. If vendor contracts get frozen or renegotiated, the vendor doesn't politely absorb it. They cut shifts. They delay equipment upgrades. They stop onboarding. They go to layoffs quietly. And then, if pause becomes permanent, they cut hard. This is where the pressure compounds. Because now, it's not just 2,300 employees feeling unstable. It's thousands more who never had an American Express badge but still depend on that American Express money. And then comes the part most people miss. Small businesses, not the trendy headnet businesses, the quiet ones. The place that survive because the same people come in every week. The lens pods that count on the big dirt rush. The mechanics who keep the commuter cars alive. The barber shop, the gym, the childcare centers, the landlord. They don't need a full layoff to get crushed. They just need households to get nervous. Think about that. A household that feels threatened doesn't spend the same way. They cancel subscription. They stop eating out. They push off dental work. They delay repairs. They buy jewelry. They code cash, and cash holding is contagious. It spreads through a region like cold air. Now let's talk numbers, because numbers make this real. If 2,300 jobs are paused or eliminated, you're not just talking about job loss, you're talking about millions in monthly wages that can vanish from local circulation. That's rent that doesn't get paid on time. That's credit cards that get used for essential instead of convenience. That's car loans that suddenly feel heavy. That's late fees. That's overdrafts. That's the beginning of household damage. And once household damage starts, lenders react, not emotionally, mathematically. Bank and credit unions look at regional risk. They look at deal inclusive probabilities. Then look at employer concentration. Then look at Bolton needing. They reduce limits. They raise rates. This look approvals. They ask for more documentation. They said no more often. So even people who still have their job feel the squeeze because credit is the lubricant of modern life. When it tightens, everything grinds. Now here's the uncomfortable reality. American Express is not a fragile company. It's a financial forecast compared to most employers. So why would a company like that hit the restructuring button in a way that creates immediate fear? Because the corporate burn has shifted quietly, and the shift is dangerous. Companies used to treat operation and back office role like long-term infrastructure. Now that treat them like adjustable settings, tend to dive down, pause, consolidate, automate, offshore, central line. And when leadership wants to protect margins, they don't start by touching the shiny revenue teams. They start where they think the public won't notice. Customer service, operation, processing, support. They that again. The roles that keep everything running are often the first to get treated like a cost problem. And now consider the other force sitting in the room. Automation, not the futuristic robot kind, the quiet kind, the software kind, the workflow kind, the AI assistant handling kind. If you can cut average handling time, you need fewer heads. If you can reduce expectations, you need fewer escalation. If you can route calls smarter, you can consolidate centers. If you can push customer into SaaS service, you can shrink stock, reduce shrinking stock on paper. This is where things start getting scary because automation doesn't arrive like a layoff notice. It arrives like a process improvement. And when process improvement meets restructuring, the outcome is rarely hiring. Now let's zone into psychology inside the building because that's where the real tension lives. When a freeze hits, employees don't wait for clarity. They start scanning. Who's there? Which games are being asked to document processes? Which managers certainly want metric? Its projects are deprioritized. Which meetings get cancelled? Which leaders stop making eye contact? Which vendor reps stops showing up? The office doesn't need an announcement to become a rumor machine. It becomes one instantly. And rumors do damage. That rigor exists. High performance stat apply elsewhere. Middle performers panic. Managers lose control of morale. Productivity drops. So now the company has a new problem. That's risk that was supposed to stabilize costs, create instability inside the workforce. And then leadership looks at the numbers and says productivity is down, and then becomes justification for more restructuring, for more consolidation, for more cuts. This is how corporate spirals form, not from one decision, from a chain of decisions that feed each other. Now let's talk about a hire specifically, because a major hub isn't just a place where people work. It's an anchor that holds up tax revenue, school funding, local services, real estate stability. When thousands of jobs feel shaky, home buyers pause, sellers get nervous, renters double up, vacancy creeps, and property managers start tightening screening. And then the city starts feeling it in weird ways. Less traffic at certain hours, more for list signs, more local ads offering discount, more people picking up gig work on the side. The more shifts, and the more shift become an economic shift. But the real problem is this. A freeze is the perfect weapon for avoiding accountability. Because with a freeze, the company can say nothing happened yet. No confirmed layouts, no official cuts, no final decision. And in the meantime, the entire network behave like something happened because they're not stupid. They're seeing this movie. Freezes often precede announcements. They buy time. They allow leadership to run model, to negotiate vendor term, to identify redundancy, to see who quits voluntarily, to reduce headcount without severance. And that last part is brutal because voluntary exits look clean on paper, but they're driven by fear. So, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, but maybe it's just a normal corporate adjustment, hence, but you have to ask, why the suddenness? Why the vendor contract pressure? Why the roles reach at the same time? Those aren't random. Those are coordinated levels. Now, consider the ripple effect across support vendors. A lot of those vendors run thin margins. If a major client freezes pending, the vendor has to protect itself immediately. So what happens? They shorten hours, they reduce benefits, they increase performance pressure, they cut training budgets, they raise prices for smaller clients to offset the loss. So even businesses not connected to America Express start paying more or getting worse service or getting delayed deliveries because the vendor is scrambling. This is where the damage spreads sideways, not down the line, sideways. And this is why a single restructuring can feel like a mini recession in a specific pocket. It's not just job count, it's velocity of money. Net that sinking. If millions in monthly wages stop moving, everything slows. And when everything slows, more things break. Now, I want to address the weird and anxiety trigger directly because they're probably thinking it already. If this can happen at American Express, what about my company? That question is the right question because the modern corporate promise of stability is quietly dying, and the most exposed roles share acute rates. They are measurable, they are repeatable, they are process based, they are support functions, not revenue drivers. They can be centralized, they can be automated, they can be outsourced. Customer service and operation sit right in that crosshairs. And here's the twist. Even if you're excellent at your job category can still be targeted. This is not always about performance. It's about spreadsheets. Now pause here. This detail matters. When corporations restructure, they don't ask who is loyal. They ask what is the cheapest way to hit the number. And the number is often a margin target, a cost to serve metric, a quarterly guidance promise, a stock narrative. So when you hear restructuring, translate it in your head. It often means we are repositioning the workforce around cost. Now, what happens next in Ohio? There is a few paths, and every path creates stress. Path 1. The freeze sniffs quietly. People breathe again, but the damage is still done, but trust is broken. The best people may still leave. Vendors may still tighten term. Local spending may still remain cautious for months. Patch 2. That freeze turns into targeted cuts, not 2,300 all at once. A wave here, a wave there. Contractors first, then roles labeled redundant, then a reorg announcement that changes titles and reporting lines. The number gets sliced into manageable pieces. But 3. The hub gets consolidated, work gets moved. The reason losses not only jobs, but future job growth. And that's the quiet killer, not the immediate layoff, the lock's future. And path 4 is the one nobody wants to say, a bigger round than expected, but took a deep and fast once the plan is long. Now, I'm not telling you which path is guaranteed. I'm telling you what the pattern looks like. And the pattern is what people should pay attention to. Because this is the new corporate weather. Freezes, pauses, reviews, optimization, then sudden decision. And the people underneath get bit lash. So, what should viewers do with this? First, don't numb out. This is not background noise. This is a signal. Second, if you work in vulnerable role category, stop assuming stability is permanent. Stability is the phase. You need a plan. Update your resume before panic hits. Track your metrics and wins now, not later. Build relationships outside your company. Know you're expensive. Build a cash buffer if you can. And if you are in a region with employer concentration, understand how quickly local conditions can share. Because the scariest part of this 30 is not American Express. It's the idea that thousands of people can be put into limbo with a single intermittent decision, and the reasons start absorbing this shot instantly. No sirens, no headlines at first, just a freeze, then a squeeze, then fallout. And if you think this doesn't reach beyond Ohio, you're missing the bigger picture. If your stable financial giant is tightening operation, that tells you what the entire corporate world is preparing for. Less lag, more automation, more consolidation, more efficiency. And for workers, that translates to one word: exposure. So, what happens then? What's whether the vendor pressure continue? What's whether internal postings when is? What's whether leadership starts using words like streamlining and strategic alignment? Those are not harmless words. They're the language of reduction. And if you live in that region, pay attention to smart signals, restaurant traffic, local hiring sign disappearing, hours being cut at service businesses, correct terms changing. And those are early tremors because by the time layoffs are confirmed, the shock has already landed. And the question you should send with is simple. If 2,300 jobs can hang in the balance overnight at a company like this, how many other have across the country are one internal email away from the same freeze? That's the uncomfortable reality. And this is where things start getting dangerous.